We do it one more time on the right, looking on the right side, still focusing on the right, and turn and look up, and then have your pelvic to the middle, and then squat down. Also put your hand here, and then inhale, 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 looking up, and then coming down, exhale, and then come to your back of the chest, and then help for longevity. This Faduanji, it was invented 900 years ago in Song Dynasty. And actually in Shaolin, where like the monks practice the Kung Fu, they will start practicing this before they do whatever Kung Fu exercise they do. It's more of balancing their health. Like if you can do it every day, you can feel like I have my patient trying this. She had like allergy. And after doing this for a week, she felt like her nose aren't that congested, and she feel like her sleeping has been better. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. Cool.
Yeah.
I've never done that before. It's like very Tai Chi-esque.
Yeah.
The movement, right? It was like kind of flowy. My name's Dr. Lindsay Stevens. I am a chiropractor, physical rehab specialist, and owner of Modus. And recently we were down the street, moved into the space with Dr. Zhao and Avid. So we've been doing more collaboration together. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dr. Veronica Zhao. I'm a sports medicine physician, and I started Avid about 7 years ago to have a more comprehensive location where practitioners could work together and patients didn't feel like they were getting treated in a ping pong style. That is our usual Western medicine. So yeah, I do a lot of regenerative medicine myself, but I think that it's great to talk about longevity from multiple different perspectives. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. And to get to know the audience, like who here like uses some wearable to track your like stats, personal stats? Oh, that's most of us. And
I feel like I get this a lot because people come in. I mean, now it's with ChatGPT, but I get it a lot where someone's like, well, this says this or this says that, but it's not actually matching. And there was something that just came out recently because they're studying this stuff intently because there's Whoop and there's Aura and there's all different kinds. And they all have different metrics that they measure. Some measure a lot, but only a few are accurate in certain areas. So like, the Aura is better for sleep, or like the Garmin is better for this, like heart rate variability. Like, I think you also have to choose like what metric you're going to measure, why you're measuring it. And then to your point, it has to thread through. It has to be like a catalyst, because one of the issues that I see with patients is the biggest problem is they don't have a connection to how they feel and what's going on, and they therefore can't make good decisions. So like they come in, they have pain, but they don't know when they have the pain, or they're very avoidant in triggering the pain. So then they have no information about what happens. So if you're going to use something like this, it has to be something that's teaching you more about yourself so that you become more intuitive, you make better decisions, right? That thread through, which sounds very kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But most people don't do that. They'll put the thing on and they look at it in the morning and you're like, oh, I guess I slept terrible. But to your point, you should know that, right? And then a decision can be made. Okay, if I'm going to go, was I planning on doing a really hard workout today? I didn't sleep well. Like I have a really hard like run or lift schedule today, and my work schedule is like insane. Maybe today's not the day for me to do a heavy thing. I don't need an app to tell me that. But if I use it to start building an association, if I'm struggling to know, like biofeedback basically, then I think it's helpful. But at some point it does wear itself out. And the thing kind of what some of you guys were saying about maybe, Aura and all this stuff adding features, to me, that's a little yellow red flag, because it's kind of missing the point, right? It has its purpose. And if we keep threading it so far, that it's just going to create a bigger gap that people don't have. And if we're talking about longevity, if you don't know what your needs are and you don't know then how do you decide what I apply? I can't make a good decision. And that to me is the foundation. If I'm making bad decision after bad decision, then I'm injured. I can't do the things, right? It just kind of snowballs. So it doesn't really, to me, that's wrong direction, my opinion.
about the gap. So
No, you can go.
you talk about the gap and then making wrong decisions. Like, at which point do we know like, oh, this is something's off? Like, what is the gap? Maybe like if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is that to me? I just like again. Well, I think most people have a really, really large gap. So like when you start, like I think there's got to be a bit of curiosity. And then that's one thing. Most people lack that curiosity because when someone walks in the door and they're like, I have back pain, I have this, I have that, that person I can treat 1,000 different ways, right? They could have the exact type of same back pain, same symptoms, but I may start someone differently because I'm starting to understand like how they arrived there, what decisions they make. Are they fearful of the back pain? Is it something where they had poor program? Like I need to understand that and then start mapping that for them. So the gaps depend.
It's kind of beyond like what the measurement is doing.
Yeah. But I think intuitively, right, we're talking about this already, where I think the baseline is there has to be a sense of curiosity. And I think we're also taught very much to avoid, right? Because there is a lot of fear, like pain equals bad, which is actually not pain, one-to-one pain does not equal bad, right? It depends. It's just information. And so I think if you go through your whole life thinking that, then your plan is to avoid it or ignore it. So then how do you know? It's a skill. Like you lack the skill, right? And the way you build that skill is I start getting curious. I start asking questions. I try different things. I pay attention to the outcome based off of how I tried this. It didn't really work. It kind of made it feel worse. I'm not sure what that means, right? It's a process and it's not one that happens overnight, but it is the one that is going to build you the strongest foundation. Yeah. The 2 cents.
I think you can notice neither of us is wearing one. I think it creates a lot of unnecessary anxiety for people. And I'm also an internist, so I do a lot of primary care, urgent care work, and I would see a lot of people come in and their main complaint was what happened on their watch. And it wasn't how they felt. My heart rate variability is off, or like my temperature has been going down. And then when you ask them how they feel, they're kind of like, what do you mean? I just told you my heart rate variability is off. You're like, that's not how you feel. So
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. Oh no, I just personally don't want it. Like I don't feel like I need that information in my life. Like I feel like I figured out I know if I slept bad. The steps, I mean, it's nice. We like to track things and get information, but are we healthier as a population? No, we're probably actually doing worse. So I don't think they're adding a lot of value to our lives. And that's not, and also having something buzzing on your wrist constantly, I think is just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's distracting and it causes this like low level stress that you don't actually realize you're taking on. It's not like the big stressors that you can recognize. It's more this like undercurrent of stress that we're creating for ourselves and that adds up in your body. So not that I'm against all the wearables. I just personally
I feel like there's a time and a place. Again, if it's like because there are a few people where I'm like, they're so disconnected to how they're feeling that sometimes as a biofeedback tool, initially it's strategic. You can do it. And then you're like, okay, but we're using it for this purpose. And then I want you to correlate like how you feel in relation to and start connecting the dots. And then eventually, you can like remove that and then they can start saying like, okay, yeah, I do feel this way or I do, but then sometimes it's also the opposite where kind of what you're saying, where you want them to feel like you're like, okay, you're paying attention to too much and you're getting anxious about everything you're feeling and now you're getting too fearful.
That's exactly like I do have lots of patients like that. It's the same, like they look at their watch and then tell me I feel this and that. But well, for me, my personal experience was I did try the CGM, and then it's just out of curiosity because my dad has diabetes. I wanted to track my blood sugar, and then I found out that, well, that time I was like during a diet, and I find that I didn't sleep well, and I don't wear my Apple Watch during sleep because I don't want something on my wrist, and then so, but I did check. Like there was one night that I woke up like in the middle of the night, and then the next day I checked the phone, like what was my blood sugar was, and that was where it was so low. So I asked our dietitian at the hospital, and she told me like probably you just need half a cup of milk before you go to bed, and then just to have your blood sugar to be stable, and then you'll sleep through the night, and then that really helps. So sometimes I think the wearables just helps you to, if you can, like you said,
Thread it through. Yeah.
getting like dot to dot and knowing how your body reacts, then that's a good thing for you. But if like you're too focusing on like what's giving you and like you're focusing on what points you get, and that's really bothering. And I still have people coming in like their sleeping score is like 85 or above that, but they still feel like they're tired after waking up. And it's not about the points. Sometimes it's just we still need to focus on how you feel. And like in Chinese medicine, we just want the easiest way is just to focus on like how your how your skin tone is, how your color of the tongue is, how the shape of your poop is, and that will tell you a lot. So like that's the easiest way to measure. You don't need like fancy device, and then you can know like your body is too cold, too hot, too damp, and that's something we can all focus on.
Yeah. I think like the interesting thing is like the more research comes out and we're talking about longevity and we're talking about how all these things interact, like the more we realize the simple stuff that we had been doing that maybe we like stopped doing because we started doing more tech focused stuff is actually better. Right. And so we like overcomplicate everything. It's very capitalistic, right? We want to sell products, we want to sell things. But the fundamental is like the simple stuff is really what does it. And so it's like the more we learn, the simpler the solution gets. And I think that like, one thing that we were kind of saying is like, what's the longevity philosophy? And it's simple, it's sustainable, and it's something that's self-directed. Like if that's your metric and that's your kind of foundation and that's how you're looking at it, then you're going to make better decisions just straight out of the gate, because most of the stuff when we talk about longevity is lifestyle, it's building understanding, right? It should be something you can do and something that's repeatable. And if it's falling outside of those like areas, then you're probably starting to be sold something.
I'm curious because like longevity is such a hot topic in the Bay Area. So there's tons of VCs. Like we have VCs in the room. Like the fund is going there.
Yeah.
But like it sounds like a lot of what you all three of you in like professions are saying is like maybe you don't need so much. But is there anything that in the longevity field that you feel like yes, we need more funding, like to actually like help or I see you laughing. Like, is there anything that going in the right direction for you to just give a bit of positivity?
I mean, I feel like maybe this is a good thing for you to speak to.
Well, I think you need to make a definition of longevity, and that is it's just a buzzword right now. And I think it means different things for different people. For me, I don't look at it as I want to live forever and ever, and that's my goal, never to age. It's that I can create capacity to do the things that make me feel good or that I want to do, and that I have resilience, because you're never going to avoid pain, right? And you're not going to avoid aging. And so it's that you want to do it with grace and with fun and, enjoyment, and not kicking and screaming. So to answer that, I do regenerative medicine, and those are tools. So if you don't know what falls under that category, it's platelet-rich plasma injection, stem cell injection, shockwave therapy. Those are some of the tools that I use. And I probably at least once a day, someone is asking me, so that's going to grow my cartilage back, right? And it's not. I mean, we don't have that kind of proof in, human studies but people are being sold that on, if you type it in and it's just some marketing buzz. But they're amazing tools. They're amazing tools to help people accelerate their body's own healing or boost it. But it's not a replacement for the things that you're saying. Like if your tissue's better, but you're back in the same system you were in before, like you don't eat well, you don't sleep, you don't do any strength or mobility work, you're just wasting your money. Really, you're wasting your time. You're going for the short term kind of solution and not looking at the longer picture. So to answer your question, I think that there are areas of research. In fact, I know someone's going to ask me about peptides, so let's just get out there now. Like 3, 4 people a day asking me about peptides, and I don't think they're bad. I don't think there's a good, bad. What's bad right now is that nobody's doing real research studies on it, on creating new compounds that we can trust. They're just selling things on the gray market. You don't know where they came from. You don't really know what the risks are. There's a lot of case reports and anecdotal excitement, but these could be really amazing things, right? They could have real health benefits, but if we don't have someone putting the resources into studying them and making them into a real substance with real data, then it's just like this crazy noise that could actually be really detrimental to your health.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things.
I think my answer is going to maybe sound a little off, but I think it should be in stuff like this: community gathering, social, like third spaces. Like when you think about, or when you look at the actual research on, like, if we define longevity as just living longer, right? Most of the time, the things that like are consistent across those different groups of people is that they all are very socially oriented, very community driven, and very focused on having purpose within that space. Some of them drink, some of them don't. They have different types of diet. Like there's not a thread through when we talk about the other things. It's that. And so like if we're really talking about making society healthy, is like good relationships, being in an environment that's healthy, because that's what there was. Someone did like experience, not the right word, but it was, they were looking at diet. And what they did was, instead of giving them a specific diet, they just told people they had to cook together. So like it was like, for 10 people, I can't remember, you guys all have to cook together. And because of that, they all lost weight because they were all collectively making the effort to like cook the food, and they ate together, and then they were more active. They were like, hey, I'm going to go do this thing. You want to come with me? And it was more successful than any diet or any kind of specific plan about how they were exercising. They said, we're not telling you what to eat. We're not telling you what to do. You guys are just going to cook together.
Wow. Oh.
And voila. And like it was sustainable because they now created a community around it. So, or there's another example of, they were trying to thread through what they saw in terms of research around longevity and health. And so they picked a city somewhere in the Midwest, and they were like, okay, how do we take what we know and apply it? And they spent, I think, a year analyzing kind of the demographics, et cetera. And in the end, they decided to do one thing, which is they put a sidewalk or a walkway around, they had like a river. That's it. They didn't do anything else. And what happened? People started gathering. They started having events. They were walking. That was it. So it was like urban kind of planning in that case that made a bigger difference. So I think that if we were thinking from that lens, a lot of this stuff would kind of fix itself. We wouldn't have to be nitpicky, and we wouldn't have to be like, well, I had gluten today, and then I need to have you know what I mean? Like, not that those things are irrelevant, but I think we spend a lot of energy focusing on that, and we miss the bigger picture, you know? And I think that's something that I really enjoy about Dr. Zhao's kind of philosophy, and very much being community centric, because that's, I think, the heart of healthcare, in my opinion.
Well, I think when you say about investing, I think a lot of time we think about lifestyle, and also like food is also like the main thing. Like we've just moved from Beijing to the States last year, and I think the food here is so different from China. And I think I went to this event called Food is Medicine, but actually what they were all talking about is food is poison. Like what they meant was like the food, what majority people are eating is not as healthy enough. So that's they want to say like what kind of we should eat correctly or like healthier, because the healthy food are so expensive right now, and the cheap food are like you see all the commercials like McDonald's or KFC, and all these food are like $5.99, $6.99, and you get a meal, and these are the poisonous food. So I think if you want to put money into it, it should be like teaching people how to eat correctly, and that's for prolong. Because a lot of they did studies like a lot of people in their 20s, they don't even know how to cook, or they don't even know how meat comes from, or they don't know how to put together a healthy meal. So this is, I think, education wise for longevity, like how to teach younger generation what to eat. So like the new dietitian, like the pyramid now is
Yeah, what
like
is it now?
opposite.
Yeah.
So I think that's also, even though at the beginning a lot of people was criticizing it, but I think it still makes a lot of sense, like eating more protein and like less carb, or like focusing on what to eat. It's pretty important instead of like after you growing up and thinking of taking this vitamin, this supplements, and that doesn't really help that much.
So that almost makes me feel like so I've always lived in big modern cities, and the lifestyle is like, okay, I do meditation, I do this, and then like cold plunge, like this is all popular. And then when I go back home, where like I go back home like to see my mom, and she's living in a very traditional lifestyle in a third-tier city. Like she does her own fermentation. Like she recycles. It's a very sustainable lifestyle, but that's not popular in any sense. It's just she's just living her life, and she go for a long walk along the river after meal. And then like she's actually like I'm telling her, hey mom, you should do this and that. It's popular. But she's like, oh, I'm already doing all this like in my own way. And it almost feel like yes, like there is so much hype in the lifestyle, like what's cool and what you should do it as a lifestyle, like a healthy lifestyle. But at the same time, it's like if you go back to tradition, go back to something that's maybe not as promoted or commercialized, then like it's already has been passed on for centuries.
Yeah. With
Yeah.
the intuition, we already had it if we remove the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as someone who has children, I would say you have to start them early, right? We should be in schools teaching
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
The education.
And they don't want to listen at first, but then it like gets in there, you know? I see them being like, did I have my protein? Did I have my veggie? You know, so it's getting in there. I think we have to start earlier because people develop habits really early in life.
Yeah. I think if you expound on that education bit, like we've taken a lot away. Physical education, like, so all of these things that we're talking about is kind of to your point, like if we just let kids be like run out, play and do more, because kids these days are doing less group sport related activities, right? And there's been research around that where like they're doing, so then they're also not learning how to like, I don't know, like plan's not the right word, but they talk about this a lot. I think it's in like the Scandinavian countries where half of the schooling when they're young is them just playing outside because they're learning how to share and they're learning how to like, you know, all these skills that are
Social skills.
yeah, we call them like soft skills, but I don't think they're soft skills because that's the foundation of like understanding your environment around other people, understanding yourself. And then in that, you know, also are probably learning about the food because you're probably, oh, what's that? You know, and then you start, I think maybe if we circle back again, I would also tag on to that, like education needs to change dramatically.
Why don't we teach anatomy in schools? Why
Yeah.
don't we teach about plants?
Yeah.
And then nobody understands, you know, most people could not tell you the difference between a ligament and a tendon. Not that that's like critical, but like, you know, it's just like it's a vocabulary. It's like, it's a language when you know how your body works. You know, people come in with colds. Some people don't realize their nose is connected to their throat and their lungs. Like
Yeah.
it's really that bad. So I think if we really want to lead long, healthy lives, we will teach people about their bodies early, and that will help them learn how to take care of it. Not just sex ed, you know, in schools or run the mile. What I mean, it's good tips.
Yeah.
How to be a healthy, how to live a healthy life. Yeah.
That makes me feel like, oh yeah, go
No, I
ahead.
was just gonna say, I think someone made a point earlier is we used to teach that. I'm probably I think was close to the oldest person in the room. When I went to school, I had home ec, learned out anatomy, and we had PE.
Yeah.
And I grew up on a farm, so we got physical exercise. I had a million cousins, so I was always social.
Yeah, it was built in.
It was built in.
Yeah.
You learned how to cook, you learned how to sew. I teach my daughter now how to sew, but sometimes it's not getting handed down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
Um,
not prioritized in the same way.
that a lot of the big people in tech are sending their children to schools that are like what they used to be like because they know better. Like, yeah,
But they're selling us something
selling
else.
us
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, you guys don't do it.
and
Buy my stuff.
yeah, and it's actually become expensive to send your
Yeah.
child to school like that when it did exist. I mean, I learned how to balance a budget. I learned how to, play the stock market when I was in school. I learned all of those
I
things.
didn't do this. I didn't get no
And
stock
I lived,
market.
and I lived in a town of 5,000 people.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't have to be,
Mm.
it doesn't require money. It just requires the focus. Bros.
Well, now the focus is on testing, state
Yeah, yeah,
testing.
yeah.
So you're teaching to that. I don't know. Why do you think that changed? Why do you think we don't have those things anymore?
Well, maybe it's because it's gotten so you know, because my generation, we didn't have to fight to get into college.
Yeah.
Student loans were, I think mine were 3%. Um, I I think some of those things have changed in a way that it's much more competitive and it's all about scores and which college you go into. Um,
Yeah. But then it's like the hard versus the soft stuff, like the hard skills of like math and, but not so much the soft skills of like,
well, and when you become soft skills, it's like life
yeah,
activities,
Yeah. But they're like, this is the first stuff they go. Same thing with like art, but that creativity is huge. They talk about that when you talk about Alzheimer's and things like that. Physical activity as well, but like dementia, if you will. Physical activity, creativity, all those things that we, undervalue. And what you were saying earlier, I mean, luckily, I guess a good portion of you guys in the room are not stuck behind a computer all day, which is nice. Very rare for the Bay Area. But, being behind a computer and like in this, like, you're not in your body, you're in like, I don't know, a problem, you're in another space. I don't know what it is.
For like 45 years. And I remember there was like this one opportunity that came up because, so I'm a Filipina, so like aunties uncles are tita and tita, meaning that it's like anyone that's older than me is always a tita or tito, honestly. So I had this tita who was like, oh, like she ran a nonprofit to teach kids in middle school. And I was interested in teaching a class, and I was like, I think it would be cool to teach gardening. But she knew my background. She's like, well, why don't you teach graphic design? And I was like, I don't want to teach them graphic design. Like, what's a kid going to do with graphic design? You know how I learned graphic design? Like I said, I was telling someone else. I said, the way I would teach them is like get them some clay and paint and then play with colors and shapes. And then like probably like have them just like play on Microsoft Paint. that was my way of learning graphic design. And like it's like how do you teach your kid marketing? Like you tell them how much something is, they sell it to other people, they could make a profit.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I didn't end up teaching, but that was the thing I was thinking about. It was like if you want me to teach the kids something that's like in my field, I'd just start them off with like traditional art classes, like something that will engage them kinesthetically. Because like a kid, like they can be smart enough to learn, but it's like the foundation of creativity comes from just like experiencing things, like touching things, like playing blocks and seeing like, oh, like what do all these blocks look like? And then engaging their imagination. So
I
I agree.
I feel like I hear like, yes, creativity, community, like just hanging out with people, more engagement. But that also makes me feel frustrated. I don't know how many of you like your life has been 100% like changed because of AI. Like, is there anyone like starting using AI and then like it just changed? Like for me, that's the case. Like it changes my relationship with computer, how I see things, how I see software. And then starting using AI, it's like you are in this tunnel, like, and then you think like I think I'm doing so much more. I think I'm so powerful. But someday it's like I'm the I can do anything. And but then someday like, what's the meaning of all this? Like if everyone have AI, then like the baseline is just different. Then like is this am I actually learning? Am I actually like am I doing anything? Or I'm just like becoming a better AI consumer in terms of I'm just spending more tokens. Like I want to ask like how as a health professional, like how do you like, do you have to deal with that? Like a patient come to you and then like, oh, now that the lifestyle is so different and it's so fast changing too. Like I actually don't know how to deal with like it's such a dramatic shift. And I feel like it impacts longevity, but I don't know like mentally, physically, like it all changed. And now I'm like feeling like I have ADHD, like I have so many projects in so many, like it's attention span, like it's just become so short. Yeah. Do you have suggestions?
Go ahead.
Oh no.
Um, I think I don't feel like I have a lot of people that are using it as much. I feel like I have a lot of people that work at AI companies, which I'm sure they're using it some, but what I'm getting is a lot of people who are in this like kind of pressure cooker where they feel like they can't not work. So they're working 12 plus hour days, 6 days a week, and everybody's in this like rush and there's an anxiety around trying to figure it out. And I got to be better at using it. And if I'm not, right, we're going to get left behind or my company's not going to like be the one that makes it out of this trajectory. And it just is accelerating that because you have more access and I can create 15 more things. And so I'm seeing more of this, like where people feel like they can't make space for themselves because of that. So I don't know if I'm getting so much of the scattered as much as I'm getting like an anxious, like pressure. Um,
So it feels like as a group we are getting more like we're getting more productivity, but then also anxious at the same time.
yeah, because everybody's doing it. So like to your point, it's just like doing this and no one is, yeah.
Well, I have a lot of patients that come in and they've used AI before they come to me. And some of them, I only know the ones that are being honest, right? But they'll get the images of their x-ray or MRI before the radiologist has even read it. They've downloaded them, put them into AI, and AI is giving them a diagnosis. And then they're fact checking me and the radiologist to see if we agree. And that happens at least once a week. And
Really?
I
I didn't know it could do that.
well,
videos
you can try it yourself. I mean, just, spoiler alert, it's not always right.
It's usually
It's
not right.
usually not right.
It's usually not right.
And then how can you tell that the patient doesn't really understand how the computer cannot be right? And so, yeah.
On that, using AI, I actually just had an idea or your thoughts from the panelists and everyone, whether that could be a better way of using AI for longevity or healthcare. So what I realize nowadays about our medicine, healthcare in general, is everything's very specialized, right? And a lot of the information I got from like podcasts, human, all of this. Okay, on the one hand, someone telling you gotta fast so that to avoid insulin resistant. On the other hand, it's like, oh, you can't really do that too much because you're gonna create stress in your body that creates cortisol, your body in survival mode, and then you're not able to actually lose weight, all of that. So constantly hear conflicting invoices in the market. I believe in being both of them are right. It's just because they ran a specific experiments under certain conditions that we didn't really know. So, and then coming to the specialization point I made, I also think if you go to a hospital, you see you see like OBGYN, you see all the every doctors are very specialized in their own field. It's also kind of like the podcast voice that I hear, everything is still specific to their own experiment. And to a point, and I started to realize that our body is holistic. Our body and mind are also connected. There's no such area in the hospital or like healthcare that they can look at me holistically. Like what I eat, what I do, what are my blood test results, what are my MRI results, not read by the AI, read by radiologists, but their reports, right? And how I feel, energy, and all of that. What I'm up and what I see, maybe by my mood and all that. I was thinking maybe I can start running an experiment on myself. Like I feed all of those information that I have, my all the lab results, my mood and everything into AI, and then also log how I feel. When I actually get something out of it, just because there is no such a person or such a discipline looking at me holistically. Maybe Chinese medicine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can just come to Chinese medicine.
She was like, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, yeah, Chinese medicine is like a holistic medicine. So we go through like throughout the whole consultation, we need to go through how you sleep, how your lifestyle is, how your mood is, and any aches or pain, and also if you have like any blood test or MRI or whatever, we can go through everything and then give you like specific like what energy is in balance, and then we will try to balance it. So like Chinese medicine is all about balancing. So like what's the hype and like what is going on in uh San Francisco is like, and also like in spring this season, everybody is all pumped up, and the liver energy is to excess, which is your mood is more floating. You might be more irritated. You might be more like you want to do something, but you can be like hesitating, and you be like everything is like messed up during spring. So we need to calm down that nerve, and then so that liver chi be more smoothly, not to be stagnated. And yeah, that's like what you said. It's basically what Chinese medicine can do. We can like go over everything and then find out how to balance that.
I think it sounds like it sounds very vague when you say she and everything because it's like so counterintuitive compared to the measurement. But at the same time, like growing up, like drinking Chinese medicine, I understand because like it's like even if it's the same disease, you go to the doctors and they give you different prescription for this month, and then next month you go there, they give you something different based on how your pulse feels or how you sleep or even how like this. I feel like it's just something that's so hard to put into a structure to tell you this is the solution, this is the playbook for your house.
There's probably not a playbook for
No, and
everybody has their own
yeah,
playbook.
I was, you know, what you're talking about actually does exist. There are these concierge longevity medicine clinics, and I had someone bring me their annual report last week that was like 150 pages of data that was collected on them and this health report. And that is too much. That's not going to tell you how you feel, you know? And I totally agree with you. Medicine is so fragmented. And part of the reason why someone's not going to fund a clinic like this, where we're trying to bring everyone together, is that insurance company doesn't pay for wellness. They pay for you to be sick. so so there's nothing that's supporting a model where people work together in an integrated way. And that's what we need, you know, that's what we need.
Because the field's very, very complex, right? There's a good reason why specialization was so needed in healthcare. But I think AI, because intelligence is becoming a commodity, it can bring all these very complex and knowledge and intelligence together. So I'm really hoping AI can do that from me.
Yeah, I think it could be helpful
As a tool.
As a tool.
As a
but
tool
I
used
think-
very specifically.
Yeah, I think you have to. I know I'm like physician up here, but like I really think you need to connect with yourself and not look for answers outside of yourself. And that's in many facets of life. You know, you need to take in the information and the education. But if you're so far disconnected from how you feel, AI tool is going to give that to you.
Yeah, and it's all like, yeah, the reports. I think sometimes like we're so obsessed with so much data, but like the point that I made earlier is that the more we learn, the simpler it is. It's not complicated. We make it complicated because we think if we're struggling, it must be hard. It's not. It's just we keep making decisions as a society that are removing the things that are educating us and giving us the opportunity. It's like the basics with food, basics with community, teaching us those skill levels or skills early so that we don't not have them when we're older and then have to figure them out. I mean, I'm saying it's not hard. I know it's hard because you have to get a bunch of people to do it, but like we don't need those things. Like you don't need an MRI. 90% of people never need an MRI. And the people that come in with them, it's noise most of the time. Like you look at the imaging and like I've seen people, I had a woman who it literally looked like someone ate her spine, like a rat ate it. She had a type of like arthritis and she had no pain and she was completely functional. But now she's seen the images. She's like, I'm fragile. I can't do anything. But I was like, you were doing all this stuff before and now you have this imaging. You know, and it was because I can't remember how she arrived. This was like so long ago, but I think it's a good example of like, you know, the images and the labs. Like, I'm not saying they're irrelevant, but we put way too much emphasis on it. And most of the time, you can improve someone's like status of health without extra stuff. I don't need labs or imaging to tell me like that, you know, someone needs to, you know, do X, Y, and Z.
And I use AI all the time, by the way. I love it. It's helped me run my business. Like it's a productivity tool. And I think I can use it. And who knows? I probably don't even know how brainwashed I am. But I feel like you can use it to help you get things done. Like maybe you use it, you put in your data and it helps you formulate a plan, but not to tell you like how you feel or how you should. I don't know. Maybe it's a little nuanced, but
Yeah. I think there are people in the healthcare space that are doing things as like an early defense because there's a lot of places like in the middle of the country where small rural hospitals are closing and they don't have just like the basics, like someone to just talk to about simple things. They don't have access. And so where they're intentionally building it in that way, it is allowing people who maybe wouldn't normally even ask the question and they would just sit in silence and, you know, deal with whatever's going on to seek care earlier. So I can see like, or at least seek advice, and then it's helping them connect with providers or whatever. So it's like the tool. It's a tool. And I think used in those kinds of settings, I hear what you're saying about bringing things together. I don't think there's as much as a gap between the professions or the different groups as maybe we feel like there is. When I came up, I worked in a hospital and I think the difference is vocabulary. We're all saying the same things, but we're using different words. So like there is so much similarity in how each person feels in the profession in terms of what are the most important things. So like cardiologist or an OBGYN, they may be hyper focused in an area, but like the fundamentals are the same. They're just using different words. Or even you saying
It's just like you, it's still threading everything together.
it's the same. It just sounds different because the words are different. But like I personally, and I know you obviously have as well, and you have as well, worked in settings where you're working with many providers in a hospital setting and they're saying the same things.
Yeah, I used to work in the hospital and like we because the whole record system, we can see which doctor is using what, and then it's easier to know like what they're training on, and then we can continue what their work is. So I think, like you said, we're all saying the same thing, even though probably the recommendations a little bit different, or but it's still helping you to do the same. We're on the same track altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe that's an area where I would, AI would be nice because I would love if we could see, because that's sometimes irritating. Someone comes in and they've seen a bunch of people. I can't see anything that's been done, and I have to take
record.
Yeah. To me, that would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, because the patient come in and say, "Oh, this doctor says this," but
Yeah,
actually
that's not what
probably
they said. Yeah.
they don't remember the term or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't know what procedure they did.
Yeah.
They just say, I had surgery. Like, what surgery?
Yeah. Yeah. I had a guy, a soccer player. He's had 3 meniscus surgeries in the last couple of years, which is insane. He's a professional soccer player. And I was like, what did they do? And he couldn't tell me. He said the last surgery, they took it out. And I was like, they took the whole thing. They didn't put anything else in there. And he's like, no. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And I was like, can you get the report? And he was like, I'll try. And he like doesn't speak a lot of English. So there was like a little bit of a barrier there. But I was like, I don't think they took the whole thing out. But that would change how I look at you if they did completely remove it and you're a professional soccer player. Like that's kind of a problem. So it's in those moments too as a provider where I'm like, so I think if you want an AI to do anything like,
Yeah, medical records would be huge. And
Yeah.
your doctor would be happier
yeah,
because they wouldn't be charting all night long, have more time to focus on you.
Yeah.
And it is integrated into some healthcare record keeping, but I know people are working on that.
yeah, that would be great.
I feel it's like for individual, it's like most of data are trying to mimic what your body is, but then you have the power to also feel yourself without having to outsource this power. But for professional doctors, like with more data, you can actually help you. And like you said, it's a productivity tool to like to integrate all this knowledge. Like with AI, I think a lot of companies like their data is becoming like the most important thing. It's like safely guarded, and it's like sometimes so hard, especially in the medical field. It's so hard to have a more like a shared database. Yeah. Okay, to close this off, like, do you want to give what's your advice um for us, like something that we can do, like practical advice to maybe stay connected or be like more healthy in your own method?
Just one? Well, I think one practical thing is to keep active and to move and to maybe move with your friends because that actually creates community. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to do the biggest thing or the hardest thing, but just making it part of your experience with others is really powerful. I started dancing, I was 40, and I thought, this is amazing. Like, you can be in a room with people and move together. And there are a lot of studies on even if it's on a screen actually and you see other people, like, moving in a cohesive way together is really powerful for your mental and physical health. So that's one of my suggestions, and the other is to do new things, try new things. We all want our minds to stay sharp and our bodies to stay healthy, but sometimes we default to just doing the same thing over and over and over. I see a lot of people that run every single day. Like, I love running, but that's not really giving your body the variety it needs. And I think one of your questions was about like why the health craze with running or yoga. I mean, it's good to have a consistent basis of fitness, but mix it up a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah. I think kind of piggybacking on that would be the consistency thing. I think you need to pick something small that you feel like you could do today that you could do consistently. If you pick something too big, this is like what they talk about if you use like diet as a reference, right? You're better off doing like 60-70% of a good diet that you can do consistently than like one that's 95% that you do 10% of the time. So you need to find something that like feels approachable and something you can be consistent with. So yeah, maybe it's finding a community that you can, go walk regularly with, or maybe it's a yoga class, or I don't know what it is. Maybe it's meditation, or maybe it's just like, turning your phone off at the end of the day. I don't care what it is. It could be tiny, but just something super consistent that you feel like is achievable. That I think is going to give you significantly better outcomes.
I agree both what you said, and then Like I always tell people to move, and then even though like Chinese medicine is more like and then like most of my TCM friends they don't really recommend like go sweat a lot, but I think now people don't move enough. Everybody's like sitting all the time, so like I always ask my patients if they can't sleep because their mind is all still running, and I will suggest them not to do yoga but go boxing or running out or do some jumping. Just do something more active, and that's beneficial because we need to be active. And the other thing is I want to say, try to listen to your body more. Like even though with all the data is telling you what it is like, but try to kind of feel, like really feel yourself and see what your body is telling you. If you don't want to move today, don't. If you feel like to run, just go out and just kind of like listen what is top speaking to you, and yeah, be happy and try to be happy. I think happiness is the most important thing of all. Like, yeah, mental thing is like huge. You know.
Easy.
I'm sure there's an app for all of it.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank all of you.
Okay.